Hello, I'm reading from Autobiography of Yogi. I'm starting at the bottom of page 138. Master was not solicitously attached to his body, but he was cautious of it. The divine, he pointed out, is properly manifest through physical and mental soundness. His discountenanced he discountenanced all extremes. To a disciple who wanted to fast for a long period, my guru would said laughingly, "Why not throw the dog a bone?" And there's an asterisk there. Sri Yukteswar's health was excellent. I never saw him unwell. Asterisk there too as well. To show respect for a worldly custom, he permitted his students, if they wished, to consult doctors. Physicians, he said, should carry out their work of healing through God's laws as applied to matter. But he extolled the superiority of mental therapy and often repeated, "Wisdom is the greatest cleanser." He told his chelas, "The body is a treacherous friend. Give it its due, no more. Pain and pleasure are transitory. Endure all dualities with calmness, trying at the same time to remove yourself beyond their power. Imagination is the door through which disease as well as healing enters. Disbelieve in the reality of sickness even when you are ill. An unrecognized visitor will flee." Master numbered many doctors among his disciples. Those who have studied physiology should go further and investigate the science of the soul, he told them. A subtle spiritual structure is hidden just behind the bodily mechanism. And there's an asterisk there too. Sri Yukteswar counseled his students to be living liaisons of Western and Eastern virtues. Himself an executive Occidental in outward habits, inwardly he was the spiritual Oriental. He praised the progressive, resourceful, and hygienic ways of the West and the religious ideals that had given a centuried halo to the East. Discipline had not been unknown to me. At home, father was strict, anatta often severe, but Sri Yukteswar's training may not be described as other than drastic. A perfectionist, my guru was hypercritical of his disciples, whether in matters of moment or in the subtle nuances of ordinary behavior. "Good manners without sincerity are like a beautiful dead lady," he remarked on suitable occasion. "Straightforwardness without civility is like a surgeon's knife, effective but unpleasant. Candor with courtesy is helpful and admirable." Master was apparently satisfied with my spiritual progress, for he seldom referred to it. In other matters my ears were no strangers to reproof. My chief offenses were absent-mindedness, intermittent indulgence in sad moods, non-observance of certain rules of etiquette, and occasional unmethodical ways. "Observe how the activities of your father Bhavagati were well organized and well balanced," my guru pointed out. The two disciples of Lahara Messiah had met soon after my first visit to the Sirmapur hermitage. Father and master deeply admired each other. Both had built a beautiful inner life on foundations of spiritual granite, insoluble against the ages. From a transient teacher of my early life I had imbibed a few erroneous lessons. A chela, I had been told, need not concern himself strenuously with worldly duties. When I had neglected or carelessly performed my task, I had not been chastised. Human nature finds such instruction very easy to assimilate. Under Master's unsparing rod, however, I soon recovered from the agreeable delusions of irresponsibility. Those who are too good for this world are adorning some other. Sri Yukteswar remarked one day. So long as you breathe the free air of earth, you are under obligation to render grateful service. Only he who has fully mastered the breathless state, and there's an asterisk there, is freed from cosmic imperatives. He added dryly, I shall not fail to let you know when you have attained the final perfection. My guru could not be bribed, even by love. He showed no leniency to anyone who, like myself, had willingly offered to become a disciple. Whether Master and I were surrounded by his students or by strangers or were alone together, he always spoke plainly and upbraided sharply. No trifling lapse into the shallowness or inconsistency escaped his rebuke. This flattening to the ego treatment was hard to endure, but my unchangeable resolve was to allow Sri Yukteswar to iron out all of my physiological kinks. As we labored at this titanic transformation, I shook many times under the weight of his disciplinary hammer. If you don't like my words, you are at liberty to leave at any time, Master assured me. I want nothing from you but your own improvement. Stay only if you feel benefited. I am immeasurably grateful for the humbling blows he dealt my vanity. I sometimes felt that metaphorically he was discovering and uprooting every diseased tooth in my jaw. The hard core of egotism is difficult to dislodge except rudely. When, with its departure, the divine finds at last the unobstructed channel, in vain it seeks to percolate through flinty hearts of selfishness. Sri Yukteswar's intuition was penetrating. Heedless of remarks, he often replied to one's unexpressed thoughts. The words a person uses and the actual thoughts behind them may be poles apart. By calmness, my guru said, try to feel the thoughts behind the confusion of men's verbiage. The disclosures of divine insight were often painful to worldly ears. Master was not popular with superficial students. The wise, always few in number, deeply revered him. I dare say Sri Yukteswar would have been the most sought-after guru in India had his speech not been so candid and so censorious. I am hard on those who come for my training, he admitted to me. This is my way, take it or leave it. I never compromise, but you will be much kinder to your disciples, that is your way. I try to purify only in fires of severity. These are searing beyond the average toleration. The gentle approach of love is also transfiguring. The inflexible and yielding methods are equally effective if applied with wisdom, he added. You will go to foreign lands where blunt assaults on the ego are not appreciated. A teacher could not spread India's message in the West without an ample fund of accommodative patience and forbearance. I refuse to say how often in America I have remembered Master's words. Though my guru's undissembling speech prevented a large following during his years on earth, nevertheless, through an ever-growing number of sincere students of his teachings, his spirit lives on in the world today. Warriors like Alexander the Great seek sovereignty over the soil. Masters like Yukteswar win a farther dominion in men's souls. It was Master's practice to point out the simple, negligible shortcomings of his disciples with an air of portentous gravity. One day my father visited Sirmapur to pay his respect to Sri Yukteswar. My parent expected very likely to hear some words in my praise. He was shocked to be given a long account of my imperfections. He rushed to see me. From your guru's remarks, I thought to find you a complete wreck." My parent was between tears and laughter. The only cause of Sri Yukteswar's displeasure at the time was that I had been trying against his gentle hint to convert a certain man to the spiritual path. With indignant speed I sought out my guru. He received me with downcast eyes as though conscious of guilt. It was the only time I ever saw the divine lion meek before me. The unique moment was savored to the full. Sir, why did you judge me so mercilessly before my astounded father? Was that just?" "I will not do it again." Sri Yukteswar's tone was apologetic. Instantly I was disarmed. How readily had the great man admitted a fault. Though he never again upset father's peace of mind, Master relentlessly continued to dissect me whenever and wherever he chose. New disciples often joined Sri Yukteswar in exhaustive criticism of others. Wise, like the Guru, models of flawless discrimination. But he who takes the offensive should not be defenseless. The carping students themselves fled precipitately as soon as Master publicly unloosed in their direction a few shafts from his analytical quiver. Tender inner weaknesses, revolving in mild touches of censure, are like diseased parts of the body, recoiling before ever delicate handling. This was Sri Yukteswar's amused comment on the flighty ones. Many disciples have a preconceived image of a guru by which they judge his words and actions. Such persons often complained that they did not understand Sri Yukteswar. "Neither do you understand God," I retorted on one occasion. "If a saint were clear to you, you would be one. Among the trillion mysteries breathing every second in the inexplicable air, may one venture to ask that the fathomless nature of a master be instantly grasped?" Students came and generally went. Those who craved an easy path, that of instant sympathy and comforting recognitions of one's merits, did not find it at the Hermitage. Master offered his disciples shelter and shepherding for the eons, but many students miserly demanded ego balm as well. They departed, preferring before any humility life's countless humiliations. Sri Yukteswar's blazing rays, the opening penetrating sunshine of his wisdom, were too powerful for their spiritual sickness. They sought out some lesser teacher who, shading them with flattery, permitted the fitful sleep of ignorance. During my early months with Master, I experienced a sensitive fear of his reprimands. I soon saw that his verbal vivisections were performed only on persons who, like myself, had asked him to discipline them. If any writhing student made a protest, Sri Yukteswar, unoffended, would fall into silence. His words were never wrathful, but impersonal with wisdom. Master's rebukes were not aimed at casual visitors. He seldom remarked on their defects, even if conspicuous. But toward students who sought his counsel, Sri Yukteswar felt a serious responsibility. Brave indeed is the Guru who undertakes to transform the crude ore of ego-permeated humanity. A saint's courage is rooted in his compassion for Maya-bewildered men, the stumbling eyeless of the world. If I had abandoned underlying resentment, I found a marked decrease in my chastisement. After I had abandoned underlying resentment, I found a marked decrease in my chastisement. In a very subtle way, Master melted into comparative clemency. In time, I demolished every wall of rationalization and subconscious reservation behind the human personality, behind which the human personality generally shields itself. And there is an asterisk there. The reward was an effortless harmony with my guru. I discovered him then to be trusting, considerate, and silently loving. Undemonstrative, however, he bestowed no word of affection. My own temperament is principally devotional. It was disconcerting at first to find my guru saturated with jhana, but seemingly dry of bhakti, and there's an asterisk there, expressed himself chiefly in terms of cold spiritual mathematics. But as I attuned myself to his nature, I discovered no diminution, but rather an increase in my devotional approach to God. A self-realized master is fully able to guide his various disciples through the natural lines of their essential bias. My relationship with Sri Yukteswar was somewhat inarticulate, yet possessed a hidden eloquence. Often I found his silent signature on my thoughts, rendering speech inutile. Quietly sitting beside him, I would feel his bounty pouring peacefully over my being. Master's impartial justice was notably demonstrated during the summer vacation of my first college year. I had been looking forward to uninterrupted months in Singapore with my guru. "You may be in charge of the hermitage." Sri Yukteswar was pleased over my enthusiastic arrival. "Your duties will be the reception of guests and supervision of the work of the other disciples." Kumar, a young villager from East Bengal, was accepted a fortnight later for ashram training. Remarkably intelligent, he quickly won Master's affection. For some unfathomable reason, Sri Yukteswar adopted an uncritical attitude towards the new resident. "Mukunda, let Kumar assume your duties. Employ your own time in sweeping and cooking." Master issued these instructions after the new boy had been with us for a month. Exalted to leadership, Kumar exercised a petty household tyranny. In silent mutiny, the other disciples continued to seek me out for daily counsel. This situation continued for 3 weeks. Then I overheard a conversation between Kumar and Master. "Mukunda is impossible," the boy said. "You made me supervisor, yet the others go to him and obey him. That's why I assigned him to the kitchen and you to the parlor, so you might come to realize that a worthy leader has the desire to serve, not to dominate." Sri Yukteswar's withering tones were new to Kumar. "You wanted Mukunda's position, but could not maintain it by merit. Return now to your earlier work as cook's assistant." After this humbling incident, Master resumed towards Kumar a former attitude of unwanted indulgence. Who may solve the mystery of attraction? In Kumar, our guru discovered a charming fount. One, however, did not spurt for the fellow disciples. Though the new boy was obviously Sri Yukteswar's favorite, I felt no dismay. Personal idiosyncrasies possessed even by masters lend a rich complexity to the pattern of life. My nature is seldom commandeered by a detail. I was seeking from Sri Yukteswar a higher benefit than outward praise. Kumar spoke venomously to me one day without reason. I was deeply hurt. Your head is swelling to the bursting point," I added a warning whose truth I felt intuitively. "Unless you mend your ways, someday you will be asked to leave the ashram." Laughing sarcastically, Kumar repeated my remark to my guru, who had just entered the room. Fully expecting to be scolded, I retired meekly to a corner. Maybe Mukunda is right, Master's reply to the boy came with unusual coldness. A year later, Kumar set out for a visit to his childhood home. He ignored the quiet disapproval of Sri Yukteswar, who had never authoritatively controlled his disciples' movements. On the boy's return to Semaphore in a few months, a change was unpleasantly apparent. Gone was the stately Kumar who, with serenely glowing face. Only an undistinguished peasant stood before us, who had lately acquired a number of evil habits. Master summoned me and broken-heartedly discussed the fact that the boy was unsuited for the monastic hermitage life. Mukunda, I will leave it to you to instruct Kumar to leave the ashram tomorrow. I can't do it. Tears stood in Sri Yukteswar's eyes, but he controlled himself quickly. The boy would never have fallen to these depths had he listened to me and not gone away to mix with undesirable companions. He has rejected my protection. The callous world must be his guru still. Kumar's departure brought me no elation. Sadly, I wondered how one with the power to win a master's love could not readily respond to worldly allures. Enjoyments of wine and sex are rooted in the natural man. To appreciate them one requires no delicacy of perception. Sense wiles are comparable to the evergreen oleander, fragrant with a rosy-colored flowers. Every part of the plant is poisonous. And there is a asterisk there. The land of healing lies within, radiant with the happiness that is blindly sought in 1,000 outer directions. Keen intelligence is two-edged, Master once remarked in reference to Kumar's brilliant mind. It may be used constructively or destructively, like a knife, either to cut the boil of ignorance or to decapitate oneself. Intelligence is rightly guided only after the mind has acknowledged the inescapability of spiritual law. My guru mixed freely with men and women disciples, treating all as his children. Perceiving their soul equality, he made no distinction and showed no partiality. In sleep, you do not know whether you are a man or a woman, he said. Just as a man impersonating a woman does not become one, so the soul impersonating both men and women remains changeless. The soul is immutable, unqualified image of the soul is the immutable, unqualified image of God. Sri Yukteswar never annoyed or blamed women as the cause of men's downfall. He pointed out that women too have to face temptation from the opposite sex. I once asked Master why a great saint had called women the door to hell. A girl must have proved very troublesome to his peace of mind in early life, my guru answered caustically. Otherwise he would have denounced not women, but some imperfection in his own self-control. If a visitor dared to relate a suggestive story in the hermitage, Master would maintain an unresponsive silence. Do not allow yourself to be thrashed by the provoking whip of a beautiful face, he told the disciples. How can sense slaves enjoy the world? Its subtle flavors escape them while they are grovel in primal mud. All nice discriminations are lost to the man of elemental lust. Students seeking to escape from Maya-induced sex delusion received from Sri Yukteswar patient and understanding counsel. Just as hunger, not greed, has a legitimate purpose, so the sexual instinct It has been implanted by nature solely for the propagation of species, not for the kindling of insatiable longings. He said, "Destroy wrong desires now, otherwise they will remain with you after the astral body has been separated from its physical casing. Even when the flesh is weak, the mind should be constantly resistant. If temptation assails you with cruel force, overcome it by impersonal analysis and indomitable will. Every natural passion can be mastered. Conserve your powers. Be like the capacious ocean, absorbing quietly all the tributary rivers of the senses. Daily renewed sense yearnings sap your inner peace. They are like openings in a reservoir that permit vital waters to be wasted in the desert soil of materialism. The forceful, activating impulse of wrong desire is the greatest enemy to the happiness of man. Roam in the world as a lion of self-control. Don't let the frogs of sense weakness kick you around. A true devotee is finally freed from all instinctive compulsions. He transforms his love to human affection he transforms his need for human affection into the aspiration for God alone, a love solitary because omnipresent. Sri Yukteswar's mother lived in the Rana Mahal district of Benares, where I had first visited my guru. Gracious and kindly, she was yet a woman of very decided opinions. She stood in her balcony one day and watched mother and I stood in her balcony one day and watched mother and son talking together. In his quiet, sensible way, Master was trying to convince her about something. He was apparently unsuccessful, for she shook her head with great vigor. "Nay, nay, my son, go away now. Your wise words are not for me. I am not your disciple." Sri Yukteswar backed away without further argument, like a scolded child. I was touched by his great respect for his mother even in her unreasonable moods. She saw him only as her little boy, not as a sage. There was a charm about the trifling incident. It supplied a sidelight on my guru's unusual nature, inwardly humble and outwardly unbendable. The monastic regulations do not permit a Swami to retain connection with worldly ties after their formal severance. He may not perform the ceremonial family rites that are obligatory on the householder. Yet Shankara, reorganizer of the ancient Swami order, disregarded the injunctions. After the death of his beloved mother, he cremated her body with heavenly fire that he caused to spurt from his unraised hand. Sri Yukteswar also ignored the restrictions in a fashion less spectacular. When his mother passed on, he arranged for crematory services by the holy Ganges in Benares and fed many Brahmins in conformance with householder customs. The Shastric prohibitions were intended to help Swamis to overcome narrow identifications. Shankara and Sri Yukteswar had wholly merged their being in the impersonal spirit, who needed no rescue by rule. Sometimes, too, a master purposely ignores a canon in order to uphold its principle as superior to and independent of form. Thus, Jesus plucked ears of corn on the day of rest. To the inevitable critics he said, "The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." And there's a asterisk there. It says that is Mark chapter 2, verse 27. With the exception of the scriptures, Sri read little, yet he was invariably acquainted with the latest scientific discoveries and other advancements of knowledge. There's an asterisk there. A brilliant conversationalist, he enjoyed an exchange of views on countless topics with his guests. My guru's ready wit and rollicking laughter enlivened every discussion. Often grave, Master was never gloomy. To seek the Lord, men need not disfigure their faces, he would say, quoting from the Bible. Remember that finding God will mean the funeral of all sorrows. And there's an asterisk there, that is Matthew chapter 6, verse 16. Okay, that's it. I'm about 2/3 of the way down on page 150. Talk to you later. Bye.